Every winter and summer break, I go to my local video game concession stand and order whichever virtual simulations have piqued my interest in the past month or year. I do this so I can get the items I desire at a lower price because I'm a cheap flatfoot, and also so I can spend the next 1 or 2 months unseen by the public eye. Except when at work, because playing video games isn't going to pay for my car insurance. This winter break, I purchased some of the most exquisite entries from 2018. I'm talking Dead Cells, Spider-Man, Red Dead, Celeste. I happened to grab one game that wasn't from 2018, but the year prior to that. Nier Automata, developed by Platinum Games and published by Square Enix. Nier Automata had me hooked through my playthrough with its captivating story, characters, combat, and music. Don't get me wrong though, the other games I played were on the same level as Nier when it came to enjoyability, and I'll probably make a video on 1 or 2 at a later date. But since I'm very late to the party, I'd love to talk about this experience that led to me thinking about what's going to happen next whenever I lay down in bed, as if I was a giddy kid waiting for Christmas Day. One of the first aspects I'm going to talk about is actually the game's director and scenario writer, Yoko Taro, and his involvement in the series. But we can't simply start with the game alone, since Nier Automata is a sequel to Nier, which is a spin-off of Drakengard. And the story throughout these games are intense, to say the least. And the good thing about Automata is that you don't have to play the previous games in order to understand the story in this one, because I'm sure I'm not going to play those anytime soon. Anyways, one of the reasons people really love Yoko Taro games is because of his unique way of storytelling. This man takes full advantage of the fact that he's telling a story through a video game, because this game employs various ways of telling a narrative that I've never seen before, by pretty much breaking every fourth wall to address the player directly, without the act of being a hindrance to the story. Speaking of which, I should probably start giving a brief summary of it. The main section of the game spins the tale of an aftermath from a war fought on Earth thousands of years ago, between the humans and aliens. One day the remaining humans take refuge on the moon, while the aliens seemingly disappear, only to have robots that they build take their place. Humanity decides that they want to take their home planet back and send androids down to do the fighting. The androids that serve as our main character and who we play as are 2B, 9S, and A2. But A2 isn't integral to the story right now, so we'll talk about her later. Anyways, a huge philosophical befuddling occurs as soon as 2B and 9S meet pacifist robots. The reason this is world-breaking to them is because it goes completely against what they've known their whole lives. Because androids live and serve to fight for humans, and in order to do that, they have to destroy robots. Mankind is basically their form of God in this universe, and their God has told them that every robot is evil and should be destroyed. This simple but deep setup is a sole example of what makes a narrative so great. It will throw concepts like existentialism, morality, and free will at you throughout the gameplay mechanics, making the player question the motive of their actions, and if it's really justifiable. Don't fret because the player isn't alone. They have a whole cast of characters by their side, and they'll be suffering just as much as you. As I mentioned before, the story revolves around 3 playable characters. 2B, a Yorha android, who uses a cold demeanor towards her comrades to avoid getting emotionally attached. 9S, a scanner android, who tends to be the most emotional member of the group, and whose morals seem to be tested the most throughout the game. A2, one of the original androids who left Yorha and spends the last third of the game trying to right her wrongs. Since 2B and 9S are the characters being left in the dark most of the time, whenever a reveal happens, it tends to have a larger effect on them than other characters. It is due to this limited perspective that upon encountering a change in the norm, it comes off as shocking. Having the player spend the opening segment of the game destroying mindless machines, believing the same ideologies fed to 2B and 9S. Soon after landing back on Earth, they soon realize that the war isn't so black and white, with many machines showing clear signs of emotion and free will, some even conveying a clear fear of death, and will either fight or run from the player because of it. This brings me to another important character, the leader of the pacifist village, Pascal. After meeting Pascal, it becomes very clear that maybe the most human characters aren't the androids built in humanity's image, or humanity itself, but it could be these robots, built to fight humanity. The characters introduced after this illustrate just how much the robots have already learned about the concepts of families, morals, death, God, and few questions their very existence. Though things don't stay that way very much to the dismay of 9S's mental state, as his world comes crumbling down as he learns that his metaphorical God doesn't exist, for they have been extinct for thousands of years. The only person he come to love, 2B, is killed by A2 during the fall of Yorha, and the third act really brings the most drastic change in story, the characters, and the world, as A2 attempts to take the mantle of 2B and right the many wrongs and end the war. I could go on for hours about the many philosophical implications behind many of the casts in the game, because it's simply where the story shines. But I'd be doing a great disservice if I didn't mention the gameplay elements of a video game. As expected of Platinum Games, the combat is tight, fast, and responsive. The gameplay is simple enough for casual players to pick up and look badass, and might give you more hardcore players something to put sweat on their brow. However, in my opinion, the combat was a bit too dry for my personal taste, with there being no huge difference between weapons in the same category besides bonuses and damage. A big pro which makes up for this is the steady switch up between gameplay styles, including 3D action, 2D action, an arcade shooter, and bullet hell. The main fighting style of the game mainly focuses on a mix of bullet hell and 3D fighters, as the game grants you a gun to shoot while dodging or hacking and slashing. This addition alone helps bridge the gap between the two genres in a refreshing way. I'd like to see the studio expand on it in their next game. Another pro is easy to use UI, which is greater than it really should be. I'm looking at you, Smash Bros. The interface takes you right where you want to be seamlessly with an aesthetic that perfectly matches the art style of the game. The last and possibly most impressive aspect of the game is the music, which has been playing throughout the video in the background. Keiichi Okabe as the producer and Emmy Evans as the lead singer return first installment after working on the music for the Drakengard series and the previous Nier title. Almost every track present has 3 different forms, each able to flow in and out of each other to suit various emotions during the plot-heavy moments. Each track is able to build a feeling or atmosphere for every area, blending in perfectly. Every piece, unlike most video games, has vocals on it in a made-up language, stemming from English, French, Japanese, and various other dialects. The reason, said by the game's director Yoko Taro, is so lyrics don't distract the player during dialogue. It's certainly one of the best soundtracks I've heard in years, so much so that it makes me want to listen to classic orchestral music in this style, or I'll just probably make a separate video on it. I like to end this video by saying that no matter how much I praise this game, it isn't for everyone, especially the PC build, but as is most Japanese action games for a Western audience. But if you feel like allowing a game to tug on your heartstrings, give you an existential crisis, new music for your playlist, or even fat material, then give it a go. But seriously, there's so much smut of 2B and she's too pure for this.
Mais